There are days when everything feels like it's falling apart. Your job slips through your fingers, people you care about let you down, and the dream you've clung to for so long is suddenly shattered by reality. In the middle of that storm, we often scramble to find someone to blame. Our situation, the world around us, or people who simply don't get us. But what if the real enemy isn't out there? What if it's quietly hiding within us? Stoicism isn't just the code of ancient warriors. It's a lens that helps us examine our own inner world. To the Stoics, the true battle wasn't with outside events, but with our reactions to them. The real threat is in our flawed thinking, bursts of anger, unfounded fears, and endless cravings that lead us astray. Blaming fate or others is simple, but turning the gaze inward, facing our confusion, our impulses, our untrained minds, that's much harder. And yet, it's exactly where transformation begins. In this video, we'll uncover 8 inner enemies, the hidden saboteurs that Stoics believed must be understood and tamed. We'll look at how they identified these shadows, and more importantly, how they defeated them through logic, self-control, and serenity. By the end, you won't just grasp Stoic wisdom more deeply, you'll understand your own mind more clearly. Type number 1. Wrong judgment. Do you remember the last time someone criticized you? It might have been your boss, a close friend, or someone in your family. They said something, maybe a little harsh, maybe just blunt, but likely without cruel intent. But in a flash, you leap to a conclusion: I failed. They've lost all faith in me. Or worse, maybe I'm not good enough. That initial sting quickly turns into pride, then frustration, then a sinking feeling. This is where the first inner enemy emerges: faulty judgment. But let Epictetus ground you. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The reality is, most of our emotional pain doesn't come from what actually happened. It's born from the meaning we assign to it. A critique turns into an insult. Silence feels like rejection. A small mistake suddenly proves we're a failure. The problem isn't that the situation was devastating. It's that we weren't calm enough to separate the emotion from the actual event. When someone with a Stoic mindset receives criticism from their boss for a project that missed the mark, they don't panic or take it personally. They take a breath. They reflect. Instead of reacting, they ask, was that really an insult? Or simply feedback from one perspective that might actually help me grow? Just asking that question creates distance from the emotion. The mind clears. You stop the spiral of self-doubt and shift towards solutions. You review your work, speak with your boss for clarity, and aim to improve your next attempt. That's the key difference between someone who is controlled by their judgments and someone who commands their own thoughts. A Stoic understands that events by themselves are neutral, not good or bad, until we decide what they mean. But detaching in that way isn't simple. The human mind naturally reacts with emotion first. That's why learning to separate the event from the emotion, observation from reaction, is at the very core of conscious Stoic living. So the next time someone annoys you, don't fire back right away. Pause, take a breath, watch your thoughts. Ask yourself, am I seeing this for what it truly is, or is it just my ego reacting to a bruise? Wrong judgment may seem small, but if left unchecked, it can shape your entire life with false beliefs. But if you practice judging wisely, you unlock something powerful, the ability to shape your life with clarity. You move one step closer to mastering yourself. Now, if wrong judgment is the first enemy, the second one is sneakier. It doesn't shout. It creeps in quietly and starts to take hold. That enemy is desire. Not ordinary wants, but craving that breaks boundaries, turns ambition into obsession, and freedom into chains. And if you don't rein it in, you're no longer the one living. Your desires are. You're just following them blindly. That's what we'll look at next. Type number 2, excessive desire. Think about a time you finally got something you really wanted, but a few days later, the thrill wore off. Maybe it was a new gadget, a luxury outfit, or that dream apartment. They feel satisfying in the moment, but before long, a strange emptiness starts to settle in. You begin craving something new. You keep reaching for more. And just like that, you're stuck in a cycle, a loop of endless wanting. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." That wasn't the wisdom of someone who hid from life. It came from a man who stood at the center of power, wealth, and indulgence in the Roman Empire. He saw the truth firsthand. It's not scarcity that chains us, it's uncontrolled desire. The modern world plays on that. It makes you believe you're not enough, not attractive enough, not accomplished enough, not wealthy enough. It bombards you with images of the perfect life, smiling faces, designer clothes, luxury lifestyles. And to feel worthy, you start chasing. You get the new car, not out of necessity, but to match your peers. You upgrade your phone, change your wardrobe, keep spending, yet the emptiness remains. Because it's not about what you need, it's about trying to fill a void created by comparison. The problem is, when your self-worth depends on anything outside of you, an item, a title, a look, you surrender your peace with it. You hand over your emotional balance. And from there, your happiness starts depending on what you have, while your fear begins to center on what you might lose. Stoic philosophy doesn't ask you to renounce all possessions or live in isolation. It's not against material things. What it teaches is balance, that you should guide your desires, not be ruled by them. One of its most powerful tools is premeditatio malorum, the practice of imagining what might go wrong before it happens. When applied to desire, it means this. Picture losing the very thing you want most. What would that feel like? When you're brave enough to consider the loss, you gain perspective. You start to see that you'd survive without it. You'd still be you. That's when desire begins to loosen its grip. Now picture this. You're standing outside a luxury store. A sleek watch glows under the lights like it belongs in a museum. You stare at it, imagining it on your wrist. It whispers, "Buy me." You think, "I'll look powerful. I'll look successful." You imagine heads turning, compliments coming your way. But stop. Think deeper. You buy the watch. A few weeks pass, then it's scratched, or worse, lost. Suddenly, regret hits, maybe even anger. And then it dawns on you. That short-lived joy cost you far more than money. It took hours of your life, drained savings, and robbed your peace, all for something that never truly filled the emptiness. Ask yourself, was it worth the price? We often mistake freedom for the ability to buy whatever we want, but the Stoics teach the opposite. Real freedom is the power to walk away. The moment you stop being ruled by what you desire, that's when you truly begin to live. You begin to feel lighter, your mind clears. You can appreciate what you already have without the constant fear of losing it or the exhausting need to impress others. Desire itself isn't the villain, not when it's understood. The problem is uncontrolled desire. Desire that takes over and drives your decisions. That's where the real danger lies. Because in Stoic thought, the enemy doesn't knock from the outside, it rises from within, from how we think, how we react. But when you really grasp what desire is and how it works, you unlock something powerful, the path to inner freedom. And often, that's what we've been chasing all along. Not the shiny object in the cart, but the peace we think it will bring. Type number 3. Fear. Fear is one of the most common enemies, and one of the most subtle. It doesn't arrive with noise or fury. It sneaks in, quiet and invisible. Yet it paralyzes you every time you try to move forward. Marcus Aurelius once said in Meditations, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." That line hits hard because it's true. What holds us back isn't the challenge itself. It's the picture of disaster we create in our heads. It's not the failure that breaks us. It's the fear of failing. It's not loss itself, but the imagined pain of dealing with it. Fear arrives before the event, grows larger than life, and leaves a wound deeper than any real fall could cause we've ever had. Have you ever backed away from something exciting because a little voice inside said, "What if I mess this up?" Maybe someone asked you to share your thoughts in a meeting, but instead of stepping up, you said, "Let someone else do it. I'm not used to this." Not because you had no ideas, your mind was full, but because fear wrapped itself around your confidence. You were afraid of being seen, afraid of judgment, afraid you might fall short. And so, fear claimed victory before you even tried. In Stoic philosophy, fear is not treated as weakness, it's understood as a mental shadow. It's not proof that you're broken, it's simply your brain sending a message. This is new. I'm unsure. That's why Stoics never demand fearlessness. They teach courage, not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the kind that shows up even with shaky hands. Instead of hiding from fear, Stoics urge us to walk through it step by step. Let's say public speaking terrifies you. Just picturing yourself on a stage is enough to make your chest tighten. Your voice cracks in your imagination long before you say a word. A Stoic wouldn't throw you in front of a crowd to get over it. They'd guide you to build slowly. Try raising a point in a team huddle. Then maybe share a story at dinner with friends. Afterwards, pause and check in. Was that really as terrifying as I thought? You'll realize it wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Stoicism doesn't demand fear to vanish. It trains you to carry fear and act anyway. Every tiny move forward is a success. Each time you step up, your inner strength grows. Slowly but surely, fear begins to fade and you become bolder. This is the Stoic way, building resilience from within, not by making huge leaps, but through consistent, mindful effort. Stoicism reminds us that while we can't dictate the outcome, we have full control over our reaction. True courage isn't about being fearless, it's about choosing action, even when fear is loud. Keep in mind, the risk may come, or it may not. But if fear makes your decisions for you, you've surrendered before trying. And when that happens, life starts slipping through your fingers. The chances that matter most, love, success, growth, they drift further away. Why? Because fear was driving and you let it steer. Ask yourself this: what fear has held you back? What chances did you avoid, only to carry the weight of regret later? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Say what fear you're facing right now. You might be surprised. Saying it out loud could be your first act of power. Fear starts losing control the moment you're brave enough to call it by name. Type number 4. Type number 4. Anger. Anger is fierce. It shows up fast and burns hot. It makes your face red, your voice rise, and your thoughts spiral in seconds. But here's the danger. While it feels like you're releasing your anger at someone else, in reality, you're only hurting yourself. Seneca, the great philosopher, once wrote, "Anger, if not controlled, is often more harmful to us than the injury that provokes it." He wasn't exaggerating. When you're consumed by anger, you lose yourself. Your judgment slips away and your actions become reckless. What's worse, you feel entirely justified until the consequences arrive. Picture this. You've just finished an important project. Weeks of effort, attention to every detail. But in the meeting, your colleague takes over the presentation and receives all the praise from your boss. A surge of anger and betrayal overwhelms you. In that moment, you lash out, calling them out in front of everyone. The room falls silent. The atmosphere turns icy. Your colleague is stunned. You feel a sense of relief, but soon that relief fades. Days later, the moment still stings. Even though your boss knows you worked hard, your loss of control left a negative mark. Your teammates start to see you as difficult to collaborate with. The person who worked hardest ended up damaging their own reputation with one rash action. Anger won the moment, but you lost. Stoic philosophy looks directly at this emotion and calls it what it is: a weakness disguised as strength. It comes from a lack of self-control, from a bruised ego, and from placing expectations on others to meet our standards. The goal isn't to suppress anger entirely, it's to never allow it to control your actions. And that's where Stoicism shows its true strength. The Stoics didn't try to suppress anger by holding it in, they managed it by understanding it. When you feel anger building, pause, take a deep breath, step back, both physically and mentally. Remind yourself, they're just human, and humans make mistakes just like I do. That brief moment creates a gap, a space for reason to step in before emotion takes over. Stoicism doesn't preach forgiveness as some lofty goal. It teaches you to accept life as it is. No one is perfect, and the world doesn't revolve around you. So when someone wrongs you, see it as part of life, not a personal attack. Don't use someone else's mistakes as an excuse to destroy your own peace. Because as Seneca wisely said, no one is more unhappy than someone who never faces challenges, for they are never given the chance to prove themselves. So the next time anger wells up inside you, remember, you always have a choice. You can choose whether to speak or remain silent. You can choose to react or choose freedom. True freedom isn't about doing whatever you want. It's about refusing to let your emotions dictate your actions and mastering your anger. That's the first step in mastering your entire life. Arrogance is a hidden enemy we often fail to recognize. Pride, Not the healthy pride that comes from living with integrity, but the quiet arrogance that convinces us we are always right, that others should listen, agree, and follow our lead. In this state of self-importance, we disconnect from the world around us. We lose meaningful relationships without even realizing the root of the problem lies within us. Have you ever found yourself in an argument where, instead of truly listening, all you cared about was proving yourself right? Sometimes it's not because you dislike the other person. It's simply that your ego grew too loud, drowning out your clarity. You might think you're standing up for what's right, but in reality, you're just forcing someone else to yield. In the end, what remains isn't victory, it's isolation. You're right, but you've lost a friend. You're right, but your partner no longer wants to collaborate. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher king, often reminded himself, "Keep in mind how fast things pass by and are gone, those that are now and those to come." It's a short sentence, but one that exposes pride for what it truly is. When we begin to think we are above others, we stop learning. When we think we are higher, we stop bowing our heads. And when we no longer bow, we lose humility, the very foundation of any real growth. To the Stoics, arrogance is a form of inner blindness. It prevents us from seeing ourselves clearly, leaving only the inflated image created by our ego. One powerful Stoic practice is called the view from above. Imagine rising from your body, soaring higher and higher, until you can see the whole city, the country, then the planet. In that moment, you realize you are just a tiny speck in an enormous universe, no more significant or greater than anyone else. Just like standing before God, if you believe, you see it clearly. We are all equally fragile, limited in our human existence. No one is above anyone else. Arrogance deceives us into thinking we are entitled, when the reality is that every final judgment is made by a force beyond human comprehension. When you practice the view from above, you're not diminishing your worth. Instead, you're placing yourself in the right perspective. It's from here that humility can grow. You start listening more attentively, engaging in conversations to understand, not to win. You begin to build rather than destroy. So, when you feel the urge to defend yourself, take a moment to pause. Ask yourself, am I defending the truth or simply defending my ego? The answer may be difficult, but it's exactly what brings you closer to true freedom within. Have you ever let pride ruin a relationship, an opportunity, or disturb your inner peace? Feel free to share in the comments. Be honest, because as Seneca said, no man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. Type number 6, worry about the future. The night before your big interview, you lie in bed, tossing and turning, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. Worst-case scenarios flood your mind. What if I stutter? What if they ask something I didn't prepare for? What if they think I'm less competent than the others? You haven't spoken a word, met anyone, or even entered the room yet, but in your mind, you've already failed countless times. This is the overwhelming and often damaging power of anxiety about the future. It's not something that happens outside, it's something that happens inside your head. In Stoic philosophy, anxiety isn't dismissed, it's understood. The Stoics didn't fight anxiety by avoiding it, but by understanding its nature. Worry doesn't typically arise from reality. It stems from the fear of what might happen in the future. That's why one of their first teachings is to return to the present moment, because the present is the only thing you truly control. But that's easier said than done. Modern life, with its constant flow of information, expectations, and pressures, makes it nearly impossible to stay present. We live less to experiment and more to anticipate, not to enjoy the now, but to prepare for what might go wrong. And therein lies the paradox. The more we worry, the more anxious we become, the more overwhelmed we feel, the less capable we are of managing what's right in front of us. Stoicism offers a different approach. Act, don't just imagine. The night before your interview, instead of lying awake, letting your mind torment you, get up, organize your documents, review your responses, take deep breaths, and accept that you've done your best. That's calmness. Not because you're sure you'll succeed, but because you know you've done your part. The rest? Let it go. You stop trying to control the outcome and focus on your actions. This is Stoic mindfulness, not flashy or requiring deep meditation or bells. Just pure presence. I'm here, doing what I can, That's enough. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." And if you're still worried, Stoicism has another exercise, premeditatio malorum. Imagine the worst that could happen, not to scare yourself, but to see that even if it does happen, you can still get back up, adapt, and keep moving. This is how anxiety is detoxed. You no longer fear the unknown. You've looked it in the eye and know you can endure it. So next time your mind races toward a future that hasn't arrived, ask yourself, what can I do right now? If you can prepare, prepare. If you can't, let it go. Because worry won't change the future. It only robs you of the present. And that worry, that blurry fear of things that haven't happened yet, is the inner enemy. Stoicism wants you to recognize and rise above regret. Have you ever laid awake at night, spinning in circles with all the what-ifs? What if I had been braver? What if I hadn't said those words? What if I had chosen a different path? Regret, a feeling that seems harmless, can weigh like chains, locking you to a past you can never change. The philosopher Seneca once said, "Life will follow the path it began to take and will neither reverse nor check its course." Short, blunt, and painfully true. Because the more you regret, the more you torment yourself. The more time you waste, the one thing that actually belongs to you right now. Regret doesn't help you fix the past. It only leaves you paralyzed, afraid to move forward, afraid to start over, and worse, filled with self-loathing. Nick was one of those people. He once had a chance at love, something genuine, simple, yet full of potential. But back then, out of fear of getting hurt, out of insecurity, he said no. Years later, when that person had moved on and found happiness elsewhere, Nick finally realized what he had lost. From that moment on, regret became a tattoo etched on his heart. Not a day went by without him thinking about it. What if no relationship since ever truly reached him? Because deep down a voice kept reminding him, you let go of the one person who could have made you happy. But what Nick, and so many of us, fail to see is this. Regret is just another form of obsession. It tricks you into revisiting the past, as if you could rewrite it, but you can't. Stoicism doesn't deny sadness, but it doesn't allow you to live inside it. Stoicism teaches us to face our mistakes, learn from them, and then leave them behind. Instead of asking, why did I do that back then? The Stoic asks, what can I do now to make sure I never repeat that? If Nick lived by Stoic principles, he wouldn't drown in guilt. He would write down the lesson that fear should never lead to your most important decisions. He would list concrete actions, open up, speak truthfully, learn to face pain instead of running from it. And most importantly, he would understand that the present is all he truly owns. No one can change the past, but everyone can change how they live from this moment on. And so can you. If you're carrying a scar from what's already happened, pause, take a breath, write down what you've learned, then look around. The present is calling you to act, to live differently, to love more boldly, to be braver. Don't let one wrong moment steal your whole future. Regret is not a sentence, it's a reminder. Regret is a silent enemy because it doesn't scream, doesn't rage, doesn't make a scene. It just whispers, night after night. You could have been happy. But that's a lie, because you still have a chance right now. So now that you've recognized regret, what else might be silently ruling you? In the next part, we'll uncover the 8th inner enemy, one of the most dangerous because it wears the mask of a natural reaction. Lack of self-control. The thing that makes you say what you shouldn't, do things you'll regret, and lose yourself in a single impulsive moment. Don't miss it, because it might be the very enemy keeping you from living the life you truly want. Type number 8, lack of self-control. You've set an early alarm to hit the gym, only to turn it off without thinking and fall back asleep. Later, you wake up feeling guilty, disappointed in yourself, and promise, I'll do better tomorrow. Then tomorrow plays out exactly the same. This isn't new, and you're not alone. But the real question is, why is something as simple as waking up early such a hard battle? To the Stoics, the issue lies in a lack of self-control, one of the most persistent and dangerous inner enemies. Stoicism sees self-mastery and mental independence as the foundation of a strong life. Losing control over yourself isn't just about skipping the gym or eating erratically. It's about surrendering your ability to lead yourself, letting emotions dictate your actions, and allowing bad habits to overpower the person you truly want to become. Self-discipline isn't about grand gestures. It's about small choices repeated every day. When you let yourself off the hook because you're too tired today, you take one more step toward procrastination. When you keep putting things off, you're not just wasting time, you're slowly eroding the trust you have in yourself. Over time, this cycle makes you start believing, I'm not good enough, I lack discipline, I can't change. That's when your inner enemy wins, not with a big blow, but with quiet, patient nudges. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." His message is clear. You don't need to control the world around you. You just need to control yourself. But to do that, you must begin with the smallest actions, and most importantly, do them consistently. Stoicism doesn't promote extreme hardship, nor does it expect you to become perfect overnight. The Stoic path encourages steady inner discipline, a process of rebuilding your self-trust through specific, repeated actions. And to begin, you can start with one simple but powerful method, one positive habit at a time. Try starting like this. If waking up early to hit the gym for a full session feels overwhelming right now, don't force it. Instead, just get up, wash your face, and stand upright for a few minutes. Feel your body waking up. The next day, add 5 minutes of walking around the house or do some light stretches. The day after that, pick a simple move, maybe a 30-second plank or some light squats. It doesn't have to be perfect, just consistent. Each small step isn't just an action, it's a message you're sending to yourself. I'm someone who keeps promises to myself. By stacking these small actions into a sequence, you're not just forming a new habit, you're reshaping the image of who you are. Someone who can start, follow through, and change. Every small win is a brick that builds your confidence. No one pulls motivation out of thin air. It comes from daily victories. Keep going like this, and a few weeks from now, you'll be surprised at what you've become. Self-control isn't something you either have or don't have. It's like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it gets. And the more you neglect it, the weaker it becomes. The inner enemy, lack of discipline, doesn't roar or attack. It simply chips away at your belief in yourself. The more you lose that control, the easier it is to make excuses, and the harder it is to break the cycle. But you can break it. Not with a one-day burst of motivation, but with quiet commitment. Small, steady steps, day by day. The Stoics never claimed you need to win every battle. They only said that today you should be better than the version of yourself from yesterday, even if it's by just a single step. And that is the most sustainable kind of victory. We've just taken a deeper look at our true enemies, those not found in others, but in the ongoing thoughts within our own minds. From poor judgment and endless desires to invisible fears and sudden bursts of anger, these forces subtly shape our actions, drain our energy, and lead us further away from inner peace. But as the Stoics wisely said, we can't control the world, but we can control ourselves. And that begins with training our minds, sharpening our reasoning, managing our emotions, and staying grounded amid life's chaos. So what about you? Which inner enemy are you currently battling? Share it in the comments so we can learn from each other and walk this path together. Choose one of the 8 practices that resonates with you the most, apply it in your life, and return here to share how it goes. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next videos on Stoicism. See you next time, and always stay in control of yourself.